Hi, everybody. We'll just leave it a few seconds because I think there's a few people still joining. But can you just raise your hand, let me know if you can hear us? Yep, great. Thank you. All right, we might kick off. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Alex Patterson, General Manager of Skills and Workforce here at the Department of State Growth. And before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're hosting this webinar today, the Mawinina people, and pay respect to their elders past and present. It's great to see so many of you on the call today. I know it's been a busy year for all of us, so we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to be with us for this session. Before we get started, I will let you know that we are recording the session, so we can provide it to those who are unable to make it. If you can hold your questions till the end, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions, including through the chat function, or you can turn on your camera and raise your virtual hand, whatever works best for you. So we're keen to keep these sessions, regular updates for you, fairly short and snappy. So today I'll just let you know that we're going to cover new initiatives under the National Skills Agreement, an update on our digital transformation project that we're implementing over the next 18 months, an update on the new eligibility process for RTOs that some of you will have heard a little bit about, and more on that in 2026, an overview of the funding opportunities coming up over the next few months. So I'll kick off today with an update on the work that we've been doing under the National Skills Agreement. I think we've got a slide on that one. Yep, thanks, Layla. So you'll be aware that the 5-year National Skills Agreement commenced on the 1st of January 2025 and established as a shared skills reform agenda to drive improved completions throughout the VET system nationally. Over the last 12 months, the team's worked really hard to get in place 5 bilateral implementation plans with the Commonwealth to deliver policy initiatives under the NSA on the ground in Tassie. These new programs will be added to our work plan and our offerings for 2026. So I'll just go through a quick snapshot of what these initiatives will cover. The first one is strengthening the VET workforce. So this is a new stream of funding looking at professional development for the sector. And that'll be particularly interesting to many of you. It's just over $2 million for building capacity. We're working on a new stream of the IPP program to support trainers and assessors and other professional development activities. So we recently sent out a survey to get your views on what you'd like to see covered under that professional development work. And Owen will share some insights shortly on what we heard there. The other initiatives are the Improving Completions initiative, which is looking at supporting some improvements at TAFE in terms of their completions framework, a piece of work between ourselves, TAFE and DSIP on improving pathways for school learners into VET, and a new funding program to support learner mentoring, particularly through GTOs. And closing the gap, so there is a funding allocation to support Aboriginal community-controlled organisations to build capacity and capability for the VET sector, so there'll be more on that early next year. TAFE Centres of Excellence, this was one of the ones that was announced first, so you will have heard about this early in 2025, no doubt. This is for a TAFE Centre of Excellence in Clean Energy at the Burning TAFE campus, so there's a advisory committee in place and a lot of work underway, which will be making recommendations to the Minister on in 2026 first quarter. And the last one there is expanding the 2610 Workplace Grants program, which is a program that has been previously run by DSIP, but is being transferred over to Skills Tas in 2026 and extended through that national funding under the National Skills Agreement. So that's really it on the specific policy initiatives under the National Skills Agreement. Another thing I just wanted to note is a reminder of the upcoming requirement for final submissions. So the payments team will be in touch soon with more details on how to tackle some common questions and issues on that. And thank you in advance for your cooperation on that. And then before I wrap up, I just wanted to send my best wishes to the team at Scarlett, who are heading off to Darwin next week for the National Training Awards, and we wish them all the very best. It'll be an exciting event for everybody up there. And I know there's a lot happening as we finish the year. It certainly doesn't feel like anybody's winding down, but we just wanted to wish you a restful holiday and look forward to working with you all in 2026. So I'll hand over to Rob now to take you through in a bit more detail where we're at with our core systems replacement project. Over to you, Rob.
Thanks, Alex. Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Grubb, and I am the Project Manager, Governance and Change for the Core Systems Replacement Project. Today, I want to share with you some of the information about this exciting project that you've probably heard a little bit about over the past year or so. So the Core Systems Replacement Project is a digital transformation initiative that has now moved into its implementation phase. It was a bit of a slow start to the project with an open tender process, which was followed quickly by a federal election and then an unexpected state election. However, a contract was signed in September with ReadyTech as our delivery partner. For those who don't know, Skills Tasmania is replacing 3 of its IT systems that support a range of functions related to training and workforce development. Implementation of the new system will deliver an enhanced stakeholder experience and a more efficient service delivery with streamlined processes. The 3 systems we are replacing are all now approaching their end of life. Those systems are TAPIS, which stands for the Traineeship and Apprenticeship Information System, Laurel, which is our contract management and payment system, and our eVet portal. So the new system will be an end-to-end, fully integrated replacement for all of those. These systems we use to administer and manage training contracts for our apprentices and trainees. We use them to pay RTOs who deliver government subsidised training and the collection of data for state and national requirements. And of course, this includes the Australian Vocational Education and Training Management Information Statistical Standard, more commonly known as AVETMIS. So implementation and transition to the new system will occur over the next 18 months. Some of the new system benefits are enhanced stakeholder experience. So the new system is centred around a self-service portal that provides stakeholders with seamless access to the Skills Tas services in real time. Now, this is a significant improvement of user experience and will significantly reduce administrative burden and red tape. It will provide a centralised RTO grant funding portal. So this includes more visibility and improved efficiency from initial application and endorsement right through to contract management and reporting requirements. And as mentioned, this will include streamlining processes. There will be an automation of manual workflows, including the AVETMIS reporting and also the travel and accommodation management workflow that is presently a very manual paper-based process. Additionally, the new system will enable instant problem feedback on any errors and will enable faster payment processing. So I now want to give you a little bit more information about what to expect with the new RTO portal that you'll be interacting with. Now, we are confident that this will transform the way RTOs interact with Skills Tas. The new system will be seamless and completely digital. Now, it will consolidate multiple existing touch points and systems into a single user-friendly platform. You'll be able to do in the system a number of things. Now, the grants, it will provide you that centralised place for funding management. You can see here on screen that there are some new system features, which I'm sure will be very welcome. The new system will provide you better visibility of your performance against your funding agreements. In the training contracts, you can look forward to be able to process contract variations more quickly and efficiently with far less manual handling. In the reporting area, the new system will allow you to have better and more accurate data more often. And I think a really great benefit will be getting instant feedback from the system on common errors, meaning errors in data won't hold up payments with good data progressing straight through and the errors needing to be flagged and dealt with independently rather than holding up the whole batch. And again, that travel and accommodation, more seamless and easy digital process for what is currently a very, very manual process. The next slide. So I thought you might be interested in getting an idea of the benefits from the point of view of your students or apprentices or trainees. They will be able to easily claim for travel subsidies. They'll be able to quickly access their travel warrant details, and they'll be able to vary training contracts themselves for the parts that they can, for example, change their address. So the next slide here is a little bit of an implementation timeline. And you can see we have our first phase, which is the design and configuration phase, which we have flagged from January to June of next year. So all around the portal architecture, interface design, configuration. Now, we will have stakeholder consultation requirements going ahead to gather some information on the platform from the RTO needs. So we'll be continuing to communicate through to you guys about what's needed for that space. The second phase is user acceptance testing. So comprehensive testing to validate functionality, identify access issues, and refine the user experience. At this stage, we will be looking at training materials and what we will be able to provide in support to you guys for the eventual rollout. Phase 3 is the portal refinement and retesting. So obviously from the UAT, user acceptance testing, there'll be a number of refinements need to be made. So we'll be working through that in phase 3 from November to Feb of 2027, which is the review and integrate portal feedback. And then our go live date for this project at the moment is March of 2027. So that is where we're anticipating a full platform launch with rollout to all RTOs, which will of course include full support and monitoring of progress in that. So we intend to support you guys on the entire journey through this implementation timeline. All right, next slide, thanks. Okay, so while we have this group together, we would be absolutely very grateful to run a little bit of a pulse check and get a sense from you all about the project and the changes that you'll be experiencing as one of our key users of our new system. Now, we're going to run a series of quick polls, won't take very long at all, and your answers will help us shape what support we can offer to you guys and help us adjust how our new processes will apply to the new platform. Now, we totally acknowledge that 18 months, March 2027, does sound like a long way away, but we know that it will be here before we know it. And we aim to support the RTOs as much as possible during that time. So these polls are completely anonymous. We are really hoping for some valuable feedback from you guys, and your name will not be recorded against your answers. So please be as open and honest as you can, and knowing that we will be taking this information to build our response and our support for you guys. So we really appreciate that. So I'm going to get that first poll to be published now, and with the magic of Teams. Let me see that. Yep. Okay, I've just got the go ahead, so I can't see that.
Just close your notes.
And with the magic. Okay, so our first poll is, what do you see as the biggest benefit to your RTO? So we have 4 different options there. And you can answer more than one. Please, you can tick as many of them as you'd like. And then press submit, and we should be able to see a little bit of understanding from what that would then look like. Okay, great. So we're seeing streamlined funding management as being the leader at the moment, which is wonderful. Simplified training contract management, enhanced reporting functionality, and in the improved travel and accommodation process is the outlier at the moment. So that's really interesting and really valuable information. To close that one. Thank you, everyone. That is wonderful. The next one is just a like it scale. So we get that one up and running. So the question we're asking here is, how prepared do you feel your organization is for the new system? And so that's from 1 star of not prepared through to 5 stars of feeling very prepared. So we'll just give ourselves a little bit of time to work through that. And we appreciate that this is very early on in the process. Okay, so we have people feeling all stages of preparedness for that. So I think that is excellent. And yes, it is difficult to answer with no context other than what I have briefly mentioned to you today so far. But this is, again, I think we are really trying to do this pulse check to feel where it is that we need to support, what we can do, and how we can go about supporting you guys in this. So I think, thank you everyone for your answers on that one. So the next poll we're going to launch is actually a word cloud poll. So this is basically free text. So what support, resources, or tools do you think you will need to adopt the change? So they could be user manuals, frequently asked questions, videos. I won't continue to throw words at you. I'm very happy for you guys to tell us. Excellent. User videos, user manuals, bots and videos, telephone hotline. Amazing. Training that is accessible, webinars. Very cool. We might just have a little longer for people to finish typing in their answers. You're very welcome to add anything else. You're more than welcome to answer more than once as well. Great. I'm seeing user manuals and webinars as being the big ones that people are obviously identifying. Great. Appreciate everyone's feedback in there. That is incredibly useful. We'll close that poll. So our next question is about how you would like to hear more about project updates. So again, there is not one answer that you need to necessarily choose. You're more than welcome to answer multiple of these, all of these. So we'll just give ourselves a moment to go through the list of email updates, webinars like today's session, online resources. We suggest like FAQs, an inquiries line, or the Skills Tasmania website. Great, awesome. So we're seeing the email updates as being our leader at the moment, which is very interesting. Webinars, online resources. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. That is very, very helpful with us thinking around how it is we would be wanting to continue to communicate with you guys about this initiative. Have one last little poll to conduct. So this one is, what opportunities or challenges do you see in moving to an improved one-stop end-to-end system? So please, as much divergent thinking as we can muster in this, I would really appreciate that. Thank you. Again, this could be a difficult one at this stage to answer too much, but I'm seeing complete functionality, opportunity, staff, the eVet portal, processes. Right, I might just give you guys a little more time to consider and type in some messages. Right. Okay, thank you all so much. These types of polls are incredibly useful for us from a change management perspective to really understand the needs of our group of important stakeholders such as yourselves. So again, thank you so much. Please reach out and we have some opportunities for some questions later on. But in the meantime, it's a great pleasure to pass over to Owen to update on some grants. So thanks, Owen.
Thank you, Rob, and welcome everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Owen Cox, the Director of Purchasing Policy and Programs at Skills Tas. I manage our grant funding programs as well as our work in our operational policies and compliance monitoring space. I wanted to give you an update flowing on from our last session, as Alex mentioned, on our review of the current RTO endorsement process. So at the last session, I introduced this concept and we went out with a survey to RTOs last month and wanted to reflect back to you what we heard from you about our plans for the new TasVet supplier program, and which is, as I said, which is what we plan to replace the current endorsement process with in 2026. So as the current slide shows, the reforms aim to really ensure the quality of training delivery under our funding arrangements, but also to recognise the RTO's previous performance under our funding agreements and increase that business certainty for you and maintain market sustainability over the long term. So under the new process, once an RTO is deemed eligible, we won't be requiring you to continuously prove your quality credentials every annual funding cycle like we do now, which will obviously reduce the administrative burden through grant programs quite significantly. And as I mentioned at the last session and have communicated elsewhere, under the improved system, it is expected that we'll be able to offer RTOs the option to enter into a single or multi-year funding agreement, which is something that we heard from you in our last year's review of the grant funding model, and something that's been talked about for some time. Next slide, please, Layla. So what we heard from that survey was that there was strong support for a 3-year eligibility term aligned to the proposed duration of the multi-year funding agreement option. We heard that the draft process was clear and well communicated. However, there's some minor improvements that were identified that we need to resolve. Most people were comfortable with the evidence requirements that we put down as mandatory evidence requirements. And that the proposed quality parameters were clear and comprehensive, but we do need to provide some further explanation around performance measures, which I'll get to in a moment. So in response to that, our plan is to obviously establish a clear communications plan with clear and concise communication resources that lead into supporting RTOs throughout the process. We did talk about a 12-month transition period, so we have time. We're also considering alternatives to audited financial statements as the initial requirement to confirm financial viability. Just seeking some internal advice on this at the moment, and we'll come back to you on that as an issue that was raised of concern. And also communication around the relationship between the RTO standards and Skills Tasmania requirements, which at a broad level, I'm happy to put on record today that, we accept that there's going to be some duplication there, but we need to recognise that this process is about Skills Tasmania doing its due diligence for the significant amount of funding we invest in VET each year. And that by its nature does cross over into ASQA's territory, but as we're not the regulator, we have to accept that there will be some crossover in this process. So I did mention earlier that some comments picked up on the question of what the performance measures will be against the quality parameters. So this is something we're already working on, and we plan to engage with RTOs during 2026 on this. We need to establish this in advance of initiating a multi-year funding agreement, and those measures will be more closely linked to the funding agreement and performance under that agreement, but will obviously align with those quality parameters. So we'll come back to you on that. We need some assistance to make sure that we've got that right, and as I said, that will be first and second quarter 2026. So we are proceeding to plan to release TasVet early in the new year. And again, we will adjust that transition period so that existing endorsed RTOs will retain access to funding programs throughout. But you'll hear from me again soon about those plans and changes that we've made in response to your feedback. Next slide, please, Layla. So jumping to the funding schedule, the grant program schedule, building a skilled workforce, as many of you will know, has closed. We are slightly late, but on track to have outcomes determined and approved next week, which is first week of December, I know. We are planning to release the Apprentice and Trainee Training Fund 226 grant round tomorrow. So that will be open to applications for training delivery starting from 1 January and open throughout the year until 31 December 2026. And good news, under the revised strategic funding framework that we released earlier in the year, qualifications under the ATTF will be funded at 100% of the Skills Tasmania estimated costs from 2026 onwards. So what this means is that the majority of qualifications will see an increase of 5%, a minimum of 5% in the subsidy rate, noting that Cert 1 to Cert 4 level quals were funded at 95% under the previous subsidy policy arrangements. We have also communicated to RTOs delivering under the ATTF this year that we will renew their agreements into 2026. These agreements will be starting to flow out to RTOs next week, and we provided updated advice to those affected RTOs just this morning on that. We also have streamlined or simplified the application process for RTOs that are currently delivering under the ATTF if they wish to add more qualifications to their existing agreement throughout the year. So what we've done there is basically removed all the quality criteria, so removing that duplication of effort and stripping that back just to demand alignment with government priorities and a couple of straightforward capacity questions. So hopefully that is an improvement for those applicants who wish to add qualifications throughout the year. Next slide, please, Layla. I communicated with RTOs last week about the release of the Fee-Free Construction Fund. So this is a new activity under the Australian Government's Fee-Free TAFE Skills Agreement, Fee-Free Construction, which allocates funding to Tasmania to deliver fee-free construction training over 225 and 226. As you can see on screen, the aim is to support training that's critical to the construction industry and housing supply sector in Tasmania. TasTAFE is delivering fee-free construction places under its fee-free TAFE agreement, but this fund now provides an opportunity for private RTOs to deliver training at the Cert 1 and 2 level qualification level under the CPC training package. So as I said, it opened this week and will be open to 28 January. The target for this one is job seekers, and training and assessment services must be provided fee-free for learners. Sorry, just catching up on my notes. So a maximum of 200,000 per applicant to ensure an equitable spread of funds across those applicants. And we will require some focus on the fee-free TAFE skills agreement priority groups, which is all outlined in the grant program guidelines. Next slide, please, Layla. Yes, I've covered ATTF's opening tomorrow. Oh, yeah, my apologies. Industry Partnerships Program and Train Now. So in terms of reflecting back on our grant program release schedule for 2025-26, we are planning to reopen the Train Now Fund in January of next year. Train Now will continue to support immediate or unexpected training needs. And as I mentioned previously in the last session, we'll be introducing a new stream of the Industry Partnerships Program when we reopen that grant in February. And that is linked to the Strengthen the Vet Workforce specific policy initiative under the National Skills Agreement, where we're aiming to support projects that help to grow the number of trainers and assessors in Tasmania, and also to support return to industry opportunities for existing trainers and assessors to maintain their industry currency. The guidelines will be forthcoming soon, but examples of activities that may be funded, just to give you a snapshot on that, is potentially trialling new strategies to grow and support a sustainable workforce, reducing barriers to entry, supporting industry people with vet teaching qualifications to enter or return to the vet workforce, projects that provide vet trainers with exposure to contemporary industry and employer experiences to help maintain industry currency, and professional development relevant to a specific industry area. So that will form part of a stream of IPP once it's re-released in February, and we will continue with the existing Industry Partnerships Program objective of supporting equipment of resources and contextualisation of training materials. And finally, to pick up on what Alex mentioned earlier, again around the Strengthen the Vet Workforce initiative under the NSA, we are turning our attention to professional development and capability activities for the vet workforce in 2026. We also ran a survey last month, and what we heard that there is clear demand for practical professional development in the sector, and priorities that what we heard from as a result of the survey were around digital tools and e-learning, training and assessment practices, teaching and learning strategies, managing LL&D, learner support. We also heard about support to help teachers move beyond the constraints of compliance-based professional development and moving into areas that will mean more for learners, like good communication, lesson delivery techniques, inspiring learners to succeed, motivational elements to teaching and so on, which was an interesting point of feedback that we'll pick up on. We heard that in order of priority, the preferred format is online, self-paced and in-person workshops in order of priority. but that face-to-face also offered the concurrent networking opportunities, and this was seen as a gap in current practices, and it will be a worthwhile goal in its own right to build that into the program of work. And we also heard that ideally every quarter was the preferred frequency for this activity. So what we'll do next is, or we're currently developing a program of activity for 226, and we'll come back to you on what that's going to look like. But to kick things off, we are running a session on generative artificial intelligence in VET planned for February. So we'll come back to you again soon about a date for this session, but it will cover how generative AI can potentially be used to deliver better student support and also using it in teacher practice. So that will be our kickoff activity with a more in-depth program to come. So thank you for listening to that rather long update, but happy to throw to questions now. We've answered a couple online in the chat so far, but I'll jump to the top of the list. A question from Abigail: will there be funding too for traffic control and traffic management skill sets? Well, I know that skill sets are obviously a key feature of the existing worker programs, so those outcomes will be known to RTOs who applied under the existing worker fund from next week. That is our primary program to fund skill sets for existing workers. It also featured in our job seeker program too, of course. So that is they're the two important ways to fund activity in that area. Should that become an immediate or unexpected need, we also have the Train Now Fund as an option, as a rolling grant option throughout the year to respond to those types of needs. Happy to take any further questions in the chat or on screen. Someone there with their hand up. Damien, I think you've got your hand up, virtual hand up. I'm not sure if that's a question or an accident. So obviously lots of detail in the presentation from both Rob and I today, so we're always happy to take questions in follow-up after the session. We'll come back to you with a recording and a wrap-up, and in that communication we'll also have contact details should you wish to pursue anything further. And I think everyone knows where I live in terms of email and phone, so by all means contact me directly. Karen asked a question around, will there still be yearly PCIDs issued for ATTF funding? So PCIDs are a purchasing contract ID attached to a training product under one of our funding agreements. This is an issue we're challenging directly through our development of the new core systems, and I'll throw to Rob if you have any comment on that, Rob. Otherwise, you can just nod and say, leave it up to you, Owen. Yep. So, so I think it's a great question because we are tackling this one given it's a highly complex and burdensome area for RTOs, particularly if you deliver a lot of training products and managing that over time. So what we're undergoing in terms of our early engagement with the provider is to really understand whether we need PCIDs, and if so, how better to manage that and allow RTOs more visibility. And obviously our goal is to make it easier for everyone. And that conversation really starts with the fundamental question of whether we can avoid having PCIDs, but certainly we're not in a place to resolve that yet, but that is our goal. Thanks everyone for your thanks in regards to the details that we're providing. As mentioned earlier, we'll continue this series throughout 2026 and hope to keep them short and snappy, and yeah, to keep that regular update going. Question from Sarah, will the new system be integrated with national ADMS? I'll have to throw to Rob on that one, so I'm just going to mute my mic.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, that was me.
Multiple people in the meeting room. Yes, absolutely, will be integrated with the national ADMS. We are, as Owen said, we are working through the functional requirements of the new system and our current state processes as opposed to the future state. But ADMS is such an important data element in the work that we do, so we'll absolutely will be integrated into that. So we're in the stage at the moment where we've been working through a number of discovery workshops to really understand with the vendor all of our processes, and this is ongoing into early next year. But we've done some incredible work to really think about how our systems will operate in the new world, and very excited about that moving forward. Cool. And again, thanks for all your kind thank yous. Will the slides and transcript of today's meetings be sent out? Will we be sending out a recorded version of this meeting? So we might be able to attach the slides with that as well. Great. We have 2 minutes left of our allotted time, which is pretty great. We've kept to schedule really well. So I think thanks everyone for attending. If there's anything else from anyone? No? Great. Thanks everyone. We'll see you at the next update.